You know, when I woke up the other morning to see this video calling Entropy Zero overwhelmingly overrated, my first thought was, whoa, someone finally said it. And it's made by Pinsplash, a relatively well-known Source community member and a mapper too, so this should be a good critique, right?
You'll notice that everything about the gun is blue. This grinder thing is amusing and well done, is what I was going to say before I jammed it with a single paint can. Why is the scroll bar so far away from the content? The new flashlight has a single frame where the light is visible but the red filter has not been applied. Did you really touch up this model but not think to make the bolt higher poly?
I'm not going to go over everything he said, so to summarize his video, Pinsplash claimed the Entropy Zero series was undeserving of the title of Half-Life 3 that hack YouTubers and the wider Source community has given it, and tried to support his argument by pointing out a number of mapping errors, but rarely ever brought up anything that was actually substantial to his perspective. He also had a particularly shitty attitude in his video, causing his message to be poorly received by commenters and the creator of Entropy Zero, Breadman.
The similarity seems to be coincidental, but that makes the dev team look so incompetent that I think it would be more generous to posit the theory that the Antlions were just teleporting into Nova Prospekt.
Following the backlash, he would later make a post saying he made the video private to preserve his mental sanity. Pinsplash, if you somehow see this video, sorry in advance.
Entropy Zero 2 doesn't seem to have any parallax corrected horse dick. Honestly, 1 out of 10.
I was left very disappointed by his video, as I do not like Entropy Zero and think both games are overrated. So here we are. Before we begin, I make some jabs at Pinsplash throughout this video, but that isn't an invitation from me to go and harass him. So don't fucking do it. Additionally, don't bother Breadman or any of his team about this stupid shit. This drama is a week old by this point, and I'm just late to finish this video. If you haven't played either Entropy Zero 1 or 2, there will be spoilers going forward for both games, so if you feel you must, play them first. There's no way to sugarcoat this. Entropy Zero is not worth playing in the slightest. So much so, I'm going to talk about as little as I possibly can, because to an extent, Breadman agrees that EZ1 has major problems, and anyone who can think for themselves can also recognize that. Regardless of what Breadman or anyone else thinks of Entropy Zero though, it's fucking astounding to me that steps were never taken to fix the soft locks and the node graph out of date message frame hitch combo on every map in the time between EZ1's last patch and EZ2's release. You could say that it doesn't really matter in comparison to its fundamental flaws, but Entropy Zero 2 was such a highly anticipated mod, which means people were going to play this one. If I played EZ1 in preparation for EZ2 and this was the first thing that drew my attention, I would have been extremely concerned about this next installment. It doesn't really matter now, it's been 4 years since the last patch and 2 years after EZ2's release, but this was something that had always confused me. Normally I would excuse this as a matter of crunch for EZ2's development. After all, they dev for free, and time is always a problem for everyone. If I had to pick between making sure my new game is as polished as humanly possible by its release date, and going back to do the bare minimum to fix my old shitty game, I'd choose the former, no contest. But here on a Mod DB post discussing the upcoming expansions for EZ2, it is directly stated that they only decide on a release date when it's done, so there aren't any excuses to not drop a hotfix for Entropy Zero 1 at this point. Moving on to more important things, Entropy Zero is what the kids refer to as abysmal dog shit. Combat sections are
mostly bad.
Puzzles between them are unintuitive and frustrating. Plot barely exists to a degree where you wouldn't be missing anything if you skipped right to Entropy Zero 2. It's even worse when you factor in the voice protagonist, which is a rarity in official Half-Life titles and community mods. Bad Cop having a voice is not taken advantage of to tell the story or to develop his character in any substantial way, which is Entropy Zero's greatest missed opportunity in my opinion.
I've got better things to do. It's a shit out of my last job.
But not the first to haul such
Shut up. This beats a shit out of my last job. This beats a shit out of my last job.
Mercifully, it's also a very short mod, only clocking in at around an hour and 50 minutes for my playthrough. And really, that's all there is to say. Entropy Zero fails to stand on its own when separated from EZ2, and is a truly overrated mod that doesn't deserve most of the praise that it's gotten over the years. Entropy Zero 2 beats the shit out of its predecessor. That isn't to say it's great or good, just that it's substantially better than Entropy Zero 1 in every aspect. Inversely, most of Pinsplash's gripes with Easy 1 were much more agreeable than anything he had to say about Easy 2, most likely because Easy 1 is a much easier mod to point out flaws in. He didn't even get to the main menu before getting steamed, starting out with a remark that came off as irrationally spiteful.
Then we see what they replaced Valve's intro with. I think this whole thing is pretty shoddy, and I don't feel like I need to elaborate on why.
First of all, Gabe Newell ain't gonna fuck you, bro. And second, yes, you do have to elaborate why, and you really should have, because here you sound like you have a personal grievance against Breadman. I can understand disliking or even hating Entropy Zero too, but this remark about the intro is the most bottom-of-the-barrel sludge when it comes to criticizing the game. And this is what he fucking started with. It never gets any better. He quite literally ends his video by saying his closer was supposed to be about a game-breaking bug, which was patched.
I was going to talk about a bug I had where the final boss was unbeatable, but apparently that's been fixed, so now I just don't have an ending. Anyway, please take off the rose-tinted lenses.
Get fucked, Pinsplash. Take your high poly bolt and shove it straight down your dick, beginning with the best thing Entropy Zero 2 has to offer, combat and gunplay. There are new enemies to fight and fancy new toys to fuck them up with. You also get NPC squads you can control, which I would tell you more about if I wasn't always killing them.
Surprise! You do not want to go in there.
But I don't know. It's like, yeah, fuck that guy. You still on this shit? People will make like.
It's his fault, he was standing there. For weapons, you have a good selection across the board. Nearly all of them are effective in their use case, making for a balanced arsenal. New weapons include the Gauss pistol, the MP5K, the Slam, and the Zen relay grenades. The Gauss pistol regenerates ammo and can be charged up to fire a powerful shotgun blast of whatever the fuck a Gauss gun shoots. The MP5K, restored from the Half-Life 2 beta, shoots in a highly accurate burst, which isn't made redundant by the regular MP7 since it now has a lot of recoil, making it unreliable at longer ranges. As for explosives, you have the Slam, which can be used as a trip mine or thrown like a satchel charge, but you're only going to remember these exist when they're required to progress. You can breach walls and doors with them, which is cool and all, but sometimes you have to blow up a door or a vent you could normally just break through if this was any other Half-Life mod.
And again, it just works.
Last we have the Zen relay grenade, which will suck up anything in its range and spit out ammo and health, as well as Zen fauna.
Sending that bitch to Zen. Oh! Those can come through? Those can come through. That's awesome.
Unique idea and very fun to use in larger skirmishes. The rest of your weapons are all guns returning from base Half-Life 2, although with fresh new sounds and animations. The animations are good, but I personally think they're too bouncy and energetic for Half-Life, especially a revolver reload. The stun stick also returns from Entropy Zero 1 in an unceremonious fashion, which is fitting since you're not going to use it in this game, because now you can kick. This is the most versatile tool in the game, and it's a blast to boot. No more having to decide between switching to a melee or wasting a few bullets to break boxes or kill headcrabs. Now you just press a button and boom, target eliminated. You can kick weapons out of an enemy's hands until they're unarmed, after which you can arrest them. It doesn't make any difference if you leave some rebels alive this way, so I mostly did it so I could pretend I'm the bad guy that the trigger warning would have me believe I am.
Get away! Ow! Get on the ground!
Combat encounters are a lot more diverse and interesting. Not only are the areas designed better, but there's also new enemy types. There's the Pit Drone and the Go Gnome, both returning from opposing force. Of all the random monsters that could have been picked, I'm glad it were these two, because fuck this guy and fuck this guy. More notably, we have the return of the fan-favorite Bull Squid, who you can summon with relay grenades.
Oh! Bull squid!
My goat. My goat.
My boy, where are you going?
This one threw up an egg, spawning a baby bull squid, which could have been made slimy and spotless so it'd look like a baby, but it's not really that important.
There's also an Arctic variant, which is literally just the bull squid but white.
There's also a snow variant, which if Pinsplash thought about for more than a second, he probably would have guessed it's because animals tend to adapt to their environment, and bull squids would probably be no different. There are more enemy types that I haven't mentioned, but overall you're not going to feel like you're fighting any of them too often, since encounters are spaced out and balanced for the most part. Across the board, Entropy Zero 2's combat is great, and you should play it for that even if you don't care for the game's other aspects, like the story or, the characters. Let's talk about Bad Cop. In both games, we play as Bad Cop, or 3650 as he's designated at the beginning of Entropy Zero 2.
Is he just called Bad Cop? Or 3650, I think?
I'm not calling him 3650, that's gay as hell.
He also has a real name, Aiden Walker, but I will not be referring to him as such. In EZ1, we were introduced to him as just some guy who occasionally made a generic quip. It's probably charming if you're still in middle school, but to me I just found him annoying. In EZ2, he's quickly fleshed out and given a backstory. Before the Combine invasion, Bad Cop was a prison guard with an unnamed wife and a daughter named Ava. The wife is murdered and Ava goes missing, a case which makes national headlines. Bad Cop is arrested for the murder based on nothing but suspicions and pressure from the media, which is not how the justice system works. While in jail waiting for his trial, the Combine invade and he joins up with Civil Protection. In a sort of flashback scene, we learned that Bad Cop's motivation for working with the Combine and doing everything he does in the games is hoping the advisors will give him information about his aforementioned daughter, Ava. This doesn't make much sense to me at all, because if the police never found a lead in her disappearance, why would Bad Cop assume the advisor knew anything at all either? Even if it could tell Bad Cop anything, it's not like it just let him go find her. I know the point is that the advisor never intended to tell him anything and is just manipulating Bad Cop, but believing everything the advisor promises him to the extent that he does doesn't make me care about him or sympathize, it just makes me think he's a complete fucking idiot. Furthermore, I can't take him or his character motivation seriously when he's constantly trying to make jokes and generally acting like a fucking moron.
They used to tell me it wasn't normal to be like me. That idiot left his gun behind. What an idiot. They locked me up. Medicated me. Outcasted me. That is possibly the most horrifying thing I've ever seen in my entire life. People took everything from me because of the way I am. Shot. My way of life, my family, my morality. Dropping the kids off at the pool. People took everything. Holy shit. They listened. They told me that the problems of the mind are not the problems of the soul. Oh, that was wow original. I only had one thing to give up for this job. My humanity.
Bad Cop does not belong in Half-Life. This guy is a fucking Borderlands character. It's this inconsistency with himself that makes him impossible for me to relate to. He's supposed to be a man with a family, so by the time Entropy Zero takes place, he'd be at least 40, but he acts like a 15-year-old boy. To be fair, most of the player base can relate to this one way or another.
I love and hate how relatable Aiden is. It's shocking how much humanity a mod team gave him.
3650 is very relatable. 3650 is my new personality. 3650 is literally me.
He's literally me, for real, for real.
3650. had a hard life.
Honestly, 3650 is the most relatable person in Half-Life besides Barney. He's just like me, for real.
Isn't it so cool? He is literally me.
Literally me for real. I want to be him and no one else. After playing Half-Life 2, my favorite character was Gordon. He was very cold-blooded. Now 3650 is my favorite. It doesn't care about anything.
Finding this relatable just shows how accurate to real life the shit has been through is. I read that wrong.
Well, it wasn't written right either.
They really love these fucking edits, dude. They just love them so much. You can do one of these, yeah?
I'm jerking. Yeah, I can. Right now, actually.
They used to tell me it wasn't normal. They locked me up, medicated me, outcasted me. People took everything from me. Because of the way I am.
Whoa. Oh my god.
Sigma! It's so slow!
My boy.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Time to stop pissing around and get this big guy back into action.
When he's speaking with the advisor or his clone is when he's at his most bearable, since he's treating the moment with at least an iota of urgency. I'd rather play as this version of Bad Cop, Clone Cop as he's called, because he's not speaking in Marvel dialogue. I'm going to give you an example of a character very similar to Bad Cop. You play as them, they have a troubled backstory, they are a bad guy, and they're also from a Half-Life fan game. You can probably already guess who it is if you've ever kept up with Half-Life modding.
Wait! Come on.
Say what you want about Hunt Down to Freeman. Sure, it's a terrible fucking game even today after many updates, but Mitchell, while far from being a perfectly written character, is consistent. Mitchell isn't bemoaning getting his face fucked up by a crowbar to quoting memes in the next scene. His dialogue is edgy, but is played completely straight through the entire game.
Whatever it takes, whoever it takes, however long it takes before I die, I will fucking kill you.
Mitch, please. I can explain.
You have my permission to die.
He doesn't crack a single joke, and he's a better character for it. The intention is for the jokes to be Bad Cop's coping mechanism, because everything's fucked and everybody sucks, and while this can work for some characters, it just doesn't work here. It's like if they rebooted Duke Nukem where he's given a dark and gritty backstory but he's still the same character anyways. I wanted to point out this egregious bit of dialogue which was totally written for the sole purpose of quoting a meme.
Never thought I'd see this area again.
What is this blue shit?
It's modified phytoplankton.
What does it do?
It's classified.
Fine. Keep your secrets.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
I understood that reference.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
I understood that reference.
Alright then, keep your secrets.
The supporting cast isn't much better. This here is Wilson.
Hey, who are you calling weird? You are the one with two legs.
Wilson is a defective turret you find in a secret facility, and of all the personalities they could have picked for a machine made by Aperture Science, they chose arguably the most annoying one possible. I hate this stupid turret and how he stutters and says at least twice every fucking sentence. Instead of paraphrasing, I'm just gonna put Pinsplash's input here because even a broken clock is right twice a day.
The voice actor for Wilson also didn't seem like they were getting particularly in character, and I initially let them off the hook because it wasn't quite as bad and he is a robot after all, but no, actually, Aperture's turrets are fairly emotive, so now I'm going to point it out for Wilson too.
You have?
Yeah, you're a clone. Said he'd make sure you'd end up here.
What is this place?
That is classified. That was a joke? Yeah. They build test chambers here and test the, testability.
For what?
For, testing.
Testing what?
Now, for that, I really can't tell you. It's hard-coded. I literally cannot tell you.
Response.
Oh, thank God! You saved my bacon, pal. Where we go? Is this a jailbreak? Can't say a thing.
Wilson's already outstayed his welcome by the time I exit Arbite, so naturally I took him to the end of the game with me. He unlocks these doors that have health and ammo behind him later, and I found myself needing to go out of my way to open them for supplies, so at least his usefulness outweighs my desire to kill him. I ended up killing him a few times by complete accident anyway.
Oh.
Mitchell loves the
Oh, fuck.
You just fucking killed him.
Just you.
Okay, that one was intentional. Wilson would later get revenge on me in this cave that's very reminiscent of an infamous set piece from an equally infamous game that I've already mentioned.
This reminds me, does this remind you of something?
Yeah, I was gonna say, this reminds me of a certain level in a certain Half-Life mod I think you might have played before.
It's weird.
I think this is pretty similar. Oh no, Wilson!
Bull squids!
Oh, he's back.
He's back, okay.
Yo. This fucking asshole.
This bitch. Fuck you, Wilson.
Then there's this clown.
Another one of those elite combine. We can't let it get to Dr. Mossman. Hurry up and let us through.
Picture this voice performance by the regrettably famous YouTuber Pyrocynical in your head.
The aliens are coming. We've been compromised.
Spit it out, Corporal.
Oh, Colonel. We are so fucked.
Now imagine that as an entire character.
Hey, you cycloptic bastard! If there's still any gears turning up there, don't even think about following us.
That's who Radio Guy is, voiced by Lambda Generation. It's obvious he didn't care to get into character if he was even given any direction at all.
All road teams, we've reached Arbite 2. Judith's group is still here. She's preparing to send a transmission to White Forest with everything we've gathered. We must protect her, whatever the cost.
This would be fine if it was a single line for a cameo character like the Pyrocynical Soldier, but Radio Guy is a minor antagonist who's introduced in the first hour and never shuts up until he's killed long past the halfway point of the game.
It can't be. It is. It's happening. They're here. You've lost Office Complex. Oh no. There's another gunship coming. They're in the tower. He's coming for me. He's here.
Breadman, aspiring voice talent in the Source community are a dime a dozen. You could have gotten anyone to voice this character who was deemed important enough to have their own bonus map with 2 guns specifically programmed and animated for it. Why the fuck did you settle for this goober?
Have fun finding your buddy in the basement.
What?
Fuck this guy. For a palate cleanser, here's Clone Cop. He's the least annoying. As stated before, he isn't wasting his energy or the player's time by dropping one-liners constantly. Clone Cop was an early attempt in cloning Bad Cop, which implies the first thing the advisor tried to change about his personality was removing his irrational sense of humor, but then he went rogue, so they had to go back to the drawing board and give the last attempt that we play as his Reddit gold back. They didn't think to make him any less dumb, however, as Clone Cop's plan arguably makes even less sense. After being abandoned by the Combine under Arbite comms, Clone Cop had time to reflect and watch them from afar, coming to the rather obvious conclusion that the Combine are bad and they don't have his best interests in mind. He still only cares about his own desire, which, like Bad Cop, is for a lead or closure about his daughter Ava. So instead of blindly serving the Combine for this, he instead tries to steal the Borealis out from under the Rebels and the Combine so that he can make a deal with them, the Borealis in exchange for any information about Ava.
Dude, you are literally a fucking idiot, and I'm not even fucking kidding around.
One could make excuses for Bad Cop believing the advisors will give him anything. However, Clone Cop has no excuse to think they will even humor him to begin with. Clone Cop's going to be stanced up and making demands, then the advisor would probably say, "We don't negotiate with terrorists," and then crush him with a shipping container or something. The advisor isn't much of a character, only serving to tell the player where you're going next and what you're doing there. It's also the final boss of the game, and a laughably easy one at that. Judith Mossman serves as Entropy Zero 2's MacGuffin, which is normally a term used for items, but Judith is barely a character. Unlike G-Man or the Combine Overwatch, they didn't find anyone to do an impression of her, so she doesn't say anything unique when you meet her, which made catching up to her after spending the last 4 hours of play chasing her fail to yield any sort of satisfaction or catharsis. The actual plot of Entropy Zero 2 is alright, but the characters are all annoying and unintelligent, and the story suffers for it. I am completely disengaged with anything that's happening in front of me, even when it's serious, because I know it's just going to be followed up by a terrible joke, one-liner, or something similar.
This isn't good. You can screw this up bad if I don't stop him. Someone take me to where he's going, now!
Excuse me, Jay. No appetite.
You just...
Think it happened.
Entropy Zero 2 mostly takes place in conjunction with Half-Life 2 Episode 2. A newly awoken clone of Bad Cop is ordered by a Combine advisor to hunt down Judith Mossman and find out whatever she's looking for. Shenanigans ensue. You fight antlions before getting airlifted to Mossman's suspected hideout, Arbite Communications, which you actually learn is a front for Aperture Science since Clone Cop traps you in one of their testing labs with his devious little psychological torture device. You fight a big bad and escape Aperture. The advisor bullies you before sending you to hell, which I'll touch on later. You capture a rather unimportant base before continuing to the actually really cool Zen-infested mine. Then there's a long stretch of gunfights before you find Mossman, who you observe sending to the transmission scene in White Forest near the end of Episode 2. Clone Cop chases you and Mossman with the intent to kill you both, but you simply outrun him and deliver her before the advisor tells you to go back outside and kill your clone. You pursue him through trip-mined corridors and very slow and tedious temporal wormholes until you finally catch up. A great boss fight ensues in which Clone Cop loses stupidly. You chase him a little further and holy shit, it's the Borealis. This is a really good map, I like it. I'll elaborate on the ending later since I felt it was too important to compress into 2 sentences and throw into a footnotes recap, but I need to talk about some gameplay. I'll go into detail about the best and the very worst of the gameplay segments. Entropy Zero 2 has some great set pieces and others that will be burned in my memory for the wrong reasons. While trapped in Aperture Science, Wilson introduces you to his jacked roommate, a gnome that regularly bathes in Baja Blast. Your weapons were destroyed earlier, so you can't simply gun this mother down, instead having to hide and do puzzles until you find a revolver, which of course Bad Cop can't help but play with before checking if it has live rounds in it. Once you finally find ammunition, you're ready to fight the gnome. This boss fight arena is really good. There are multiple rooms where the floors and walls can start moving at random, providing environmental hazards and forcing you to think on the fly. You can get swarmed by fast zombies and crawlers if you neglect to kill enough of them as they come.
Step off! Step off! Shit! They jumping me! They jumping me!
The gnome itself is fairly tanky, but it's a little too good at getting stuck on crawlers and the environment to be that threatening. If they tweaked its pathfinding a little bit or let it kill zombies blocking him, it'd make for an even better fight. Unfortunately, it's soon followed by the absolutely worst fucking part of the entire game. A hunter chopper drops in an APC for you to drive, and it functions almost identically to the dune buggy from the coast levels in Half-Life 2. I don't particularly like either of the vehicle chapters in that game, and while I wasn't expecting Breadman and his team to reinvent source vehicle mechanics, they could have at least tried to make their driving section less frustrating. Not even a minute after I first step into the APC and start on my way, I'm already stepping back out to attack a rebel outpost so I can open the gate to this tunnel here. In the very next map, you're driving another short distance further to find another gate which you have to go out of your way to open, just like you did a minute ago. Almost insultingly, you pass by some nice scenery and then to the third fucking gate blocking the road ahead.
Fuck you!
You wanna know what was my favorite part about Water Hazard and Highway 17? Stopping every 20 fucking seconds to do a puzzle or a combat sequence to remove some kind of obstacle on my fucking path. It's even worse here since these are chain link fences. You cannot fucking tell me this big hunk of shit you're driving can't just barrel its way through. Why the fuck do we have to grind the pacing to a dead halt to do this stupid shit? And why the fuck does it happen twice more? This section can get fucked so hard that the game crashing on this turn could be seen as a blessing.
Yeah, there could have been a more intuitive way to do this.
Oh, that's slippery as fuck. That crashed the game.
Oh my, really?
Yes.
Just because of how tedious this chapter was, I'm going to talk about these maps. For the most part, they look fine if you don't look at them too closely, but these darker tunnels that serve as a level transition are questionable. Not only are there no lights except for these construction floodlights at the corners, but also the street just cuts off and it's just this long stretch of the asphalt texture. And it's not just one tunnel that's like this, it's copied and pasted 4 times across 2 maps. As for this part, frankly, Pinsplasher's right, this looks like complete shit. If you ignore the small things, most of Entropy Zero 2's environmental design is overall good, it's a good looking game, but then you have this huge area that's supposed to be an icy cave, but it's so angular and unnatural it's hardly a believable ice cave. I haven't made a Minecraft map that I can confidently compare this to as I fillet myself vigorously.
See this ice cave? I did that. An ice cave in a TF2 trade map had more effort put into it than this one.
But I will point out that you can look at this area from 2 different parts of the map, so you're meant to pay attention to it to some degree. At least these things I don't know the name of are entertaining.
And with that fucking bad cop, I can...
That's funny though.
In the penultimate chapter, you face off against Clone Cop, and it's probably one of the best boss fights I've played in anything Half-Life. The arena has a lot of good cover, which is great since he mostly uses hit-scan weapons. He actually switches guns depending on the situation. Normally he uses the prototype AR-2 from Entropy Zero 1, but if you move too close or too far from him, he'll use his shotgun and crossbow respectively. He'll start teleporting around to keep you on your toes, and it's quite intense. I had to run and hide from him so I could throw a relay grenade to hopefully spawn more health, while also avoiding creatures spawned from the other relays I threw. Once you shoot him enough, he'll teleport again, this time taking you with him on opposite sides of this room. But since he was stupid enough to teleport himself to the side of the room that has explosive barrels, he goes out like a total bitch. Great fight though. After dropping Wilson's corpse off at daycare, you feast your eyes on the Borealis. It's a vast and detailed map and it looks fucking awesome. Very cool final set piece if the boss wasn't so underwhelming. It's here that Bad Cop has his final exchange with his clone.
Maybe I could. Oh, fuck you. Now are you going to listen? No. It's too late now. You didn't give me much of a choice.
Bullshit!
You're not the first call. You won't be the last. You're a specialist. And when you're done, they'll throw you out. Ah, shut up. I'm talking now. Everyone in this place wants you dead. Where are they hiding? Much of a choice.
What did you think was gonna happen? Are you just a fucking idiot? Did you just not think? What the fuck were you thinking?
You're not just a regular moron. You're designed to be a moron.
You come face to face with the advisor Bad Cop has been dick riding for the entire game. It tells him he's earned a mandatory promotion with the caveat of having his memories wiped. You can willingly go along with it, or you can start shooting the floating grub to death. Even as he's gunning down this fat ass, Bad Cop is still sucking up to it and pleading, which I found quite moronic.
This way. You're making a mistake. I'm loyal to you. I don't want to fight you, but you're not giving me a choice.
The fight itself is really easy and sometimes silly since the advisor kept hitting itself with the shipping crates and trucks it was trying to throw at me. It dies and you get sucked into a portal or something and G-Man is here.
You're fucking funny, dude.
He tells Bad Cop that he's bought him time and offers him a reward in return. After giving it some thought, Bad Cop chooses not to be told whatever became of Ava, saying that he knows he didn't kill her and that should be good enough for him, implying he wasn't certain about that before. I can't tell if the case of his wife and daughter is meant to be open-ended or not, because that facet of Bad Cop's character isn't explored at all, so for all we know, he very well could be guilty of familicide. But I digress. Instead, Bad Cop wishes not to be cloned any longer, to which G-Man accepts, teleporting to a grub which probably houses the imprint taken at the end of Entropy Zero 1. Then something happens that scares away G-Man, and that's the end of Entropy Zero 2. Or just one of the endings, at least. As a parting gift, the credits threw a rather pretentious curveball at me as a nice send-off.
Story and message. Message?
What message?
Message?
What's the
Don't
message?
be a bad guy.
What is the message?
What?
Yeah.
What?
If you get your nuts cut off, kill everyone.
I don't know. I've gotten more profound insight from Crack Life. To conclude my thoughts about the games, Entropy Zero should be ignored, and Entropy Zero 2 is a competently made game dragged down by its horrendous characters and dialogue. I can't say it's a good game, but I can say at its base it's fun and properly optimizes and expands the gameplay of Half-Life 2 in a meaningful way. Regardless of my criticism, I'm glad they both exist, since most similarly ambitious projects are regularly sent into development hell, to a point where they may as well be cancelled. Not only was Entropy Zero 2 able to be released, it was able to improve on what came before it, and that alone deserves merit. It's fine that people like these games. If you like Entropy Zero 2, that's okay. That's not a problem in itself, but at some point the rose-tinted goggles have to come off so that Entropy Zero 2 can be admired as a labor of love and a great feat of the Source community, rather than as a sequel we've been waiting 17 years for. Entropy Zero 2 is not Half-Life 3. It is not canon. Entropy Zero 2 is Entropy Zero 2. And that is perfectly fine.